welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. Today on the show, we'll go around the NBA with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Plus, what's going on with the line movement for 49ers Eagles? We'll also talk college hoops with Michael Calabrese. But we start in college football ahead of conference championship weekend. Number 5, Oregon is favored against number 3, Washington. Number 18, Oklahoma State, double-digit dogs versus number 7, Texas. Number 1, Georgia, the favorite against number 8, Alabama. Number 2, Michigan, big favorites versus number 16, Iowa. And number 14, Louisville against number 4, Florida State. FSU laying the points. With that, we say hello to Collin Wilson and Brett McMurphy. Good to see you guys. Which Power 5 championship upset is most likely in your mind? Collin, why don't you start?
Well, by default, it's got to be Louisville because the rest of the spreads are so outrageous. You can't see an upset there. I mean, Oregon's not going to lose to Washington. Michigan's going to lose to Iowa. I don't think so. And Texas is going to put a 50-burger on Oklahoma State. So Louisville by default is the team that would be able to have the upset here, which would allow some other teams to get into the playoff.
Brett, what do you think?
I agree with Collin. I actually think Florida State will win, though. I think all of the favorites will win. I think all the chalk will win. However, I would take Washington plus the 9.5 points. This game was basically a pick 'em when they played at Washington. Washington was a 3-point favorite. Now you're on a neutral field, and suddenly Oregon is 10 points better. I don't believe it. I understand the narrative. Bo Nix going for a Heisman, all of that stuff. I take Washington in the points. I think the biggest upset, Maria, is can Iowa score 7 points and get over their team total against Michigan? That's the game I'm really going to look at.
All right, well, all that being said, give me your college football playoff field post-championship weekend, although we're not expecting too many surprises. But, Collin, what do you think?
Well, Georgia's barely going to survive Alabama. They'll take the 1 seed, and then Michigan and Oregon are going to face each other out in the Rose Bowl. And like I said, if Louisville loses, that is the slot for Texas to overcome Ohio State. It's for them to go ahead and jump ahead of Washington, who's 1 loss, and Florida State, who would be 1 loss with a loss to Louisville. So I think Texas fills that role as the number 4 seed.
Brett?
Sorry, Collin's wrong. Georgia's going to win. Michigan's going to win. Florida State will win. The playoff committee will not leave an undefeated Power 5 champ out of the playoff. And I do agree Oregon wins. So there's your 4 there. I do agree Oregon will be a 3 seed. I think even though they're undefeated, Florida State will drop to a 4 seed.
At least he didn't just say Collin's wrong. He said, sorry, Collin's wrong.
Sorry. Some of it, not all of it, just some of it.
Let's talk about best bets for this weekend, Collin.
Yeah, we're going to stick with the narrative here that Texas is going to go wild against Oklahoma State. If you break down what these teams do on offense and defense, there's no chance Oklahoma State is going to be able to stop what Texas does on offense. Conversely, the Texas defensive front 7 is good enough to win the national title, and they're good enough to shut down Ollie Gordon of Oklahoma State. Texas needs style points. Remember, this Big 12 championship game is at 11 a.m. local kickoff. The ACC championship doesn't get played till later that night. So Steve Sarkisian has no clue if he needs style points or not. Might as well pile it on if they have the opportunity, and that's what's going to happen. So I'll take Texas team total over 35. Best number you can find. They're going to try to put up as many points as possible.
Brett, as someone who roots Oklahoma State, how do you feel about that?
Oklahoma State made the title game, so mission accomplished. Oklahoma State won the final Bedlam. If you put that on my tombstone. So if Texas puts a 50-burger on us, congrats, Longhorns. Enjoy the SEC and getting your brains beat in. My best bet is I like over in the Georgia-Alabama game. The SEC title game, historically, the SEC, all these great defenses, that's hogwash. You play, this game is in the most frenzied atmosphere of any conference title game. It's in the Dome. You have a lot of emotions. The fan bases are jacked up. You usually have a lot of turnovers, defensive touchdowns, weird plays. Teams just keep scoring. I think this gets over the 54 pretty easily. Georgia's been an over team this year. I think 9 games over so far. Alabama's going to have to keep up. This will be your classic entertaining back and forth SEC title game. And I like over 54 in the SEC title.
That sounds good to me. Okay, we're going to let you guys go, but I do want to get one thought from Collin because I'm told you're an Arkansas alum. So reaction to Bobby Petrino returning as offensive coordinator.
Yeah, my name is on Senior Walk Twice, and I'm the president of the Alumni Association. So I'm kind of close to this program, and everything that happens is really important to me. I think this Petrino hire is perfect. I think it's great. People are going to ask, where's your integrity? I don't care about integrity. I want wins. I don't want losses. I'll take anybody to come in and be my offensive coordinator. If that means KJ Jefferson's got to hit the portal and he's gone, fine. That's not a Petrino quarterback. I'm all behind this, him rolling into town on his Harley and getting our offense corrected.
Just looking for those wins. I feel like a lot of people in college football can relate. All right, guys, thanks so much for the time. Sticking with college football, as we zero in on the Pac-12 championship a bit more, Oregon is seeking its first title since 2020, Washington its first since 2018. Washington tied with UCLA for the second most Pac-12 chips with 17. USC has the most by far. The Huskies also lead the all-time series against the Ducks. Senior reporter for Vegas Insider Patrick Everson joins us now. Give us the outlook on the betting market for Oregon, Washington.
First off, thanks for having me, Maria. And this is pretty interesting because, as everybody knows, Washington beat Oregon in the regular season in week 7 by 3, and arguably the best game of the regular season, but is nearly a double-digit underdog, neutral site right here in Las Vegas, a couple miles away from where I'm sitting in my office, games at Allegiant Stadium. So BetMGM trader Seamus McGee told me this morning, he said sharp money has pushed Oregon out to -9.5, so the pros are on the Ducks from a -8.5 opener. At 9.5, Seamus said it's great two-way action, and he's surprised by that because he said throughout the week so far, he hasn't heard anyone make a case for Washington, saying, hey, I'm betting Washington. I like Washington. But regardless, the sharp side's Oregon up to 9.5. Maria, maybe if it gets shoved to 10, I think the implication is there that the professional bettors might come back on Washington if it gets to that key number. And there's a little school of thought that Washington being undefeated and ranked higher, getting nearly double digits, that might be attractive to the public. Seamus said he's not seeing that so far. The casual recreational bettors, the betting curious and so forth, as we like to call them, is not necessarily heading Washington's direction. And in fact, what Seamus said was Oregon money line has been popular so far this week, with public bettors putting that money line option in their parlays. No surprise there. They feel like it's a free space. And Seamus said he has a hard time imagining Washington will be the public side to this week. And add to that, the national narrative is all going toward Oregon here, Maria. The Ducks are the big favorites. They're getting in the money line parlays, and you got Bo Nix as the favorite in the Heisman race. And the national championship odds, Maria, Oregon and Alabama, I believe both of those teams are by odds well ahead. Yeah, they are. Oregon's 5-1, Alabama's 8-1 at BetMGM, Texas 9-1, then Washington 18-1. So that tells you what the odds makers think about all that as well.
All of this checks out and is consistent with what we just heard from Brett and Collin and what they expect to happen in this game. How about another high-profile matchup? We got Georgia, Alabama. What are you hearing about that?
So again, this is just in the last couple of hours or so from Seamus McGee at BetMGM. Opens Georgia 4.5. Already at 5.5 -105 by Monday morning, Maria. So this moved pretty quickly. And granted, 5.5 is kind of a wonky number. It's just like, okay, where do the bettors want to take us from here is often what odds makers tell me when you see that 5.5 number. But it's now 5.5 -115. So it's starting to lean toward maybe getting to 6, which will be interesting. And Seamus said the line movement reflects what's going on. He said it's one-way traffic on the Bulldogs. Lots of money coming in for Georgia. Sharps push the line from -4.5 to -5.5, and the public is tailing. The public is piling on that. It's pretty heavy tickets and money to Georgia at this point. And BetMGM, Maria, is in a really interesting spot here. The way it's shaping up and the way it will probably continue to shape up, Bama winning the game outright would be good for the book. Definitely a sizable win, probably for BetMGM and other sports books as well, just based on the small picture of that game. But in the big picture, BetMGM has huge liability to Alabama, and other books probably do as well, in the national championship market, college football playoff national championship. That includes at BetMGM an August bet of $205,500. Just walking around money, right, Maria? On Alabama plus 600 to win the title. So I punched that into Action Network's handy dandy odds calculator, which I recommend for everybody watching the show today. And when you punch that in, that's a potential profit of $1.233 million. That's a lot. So with that in mind, Seamus said the dream scenario right now for BetMGM is a Georgia win and an Alabama cover on Saturday, hitting that sweet spot. BetMGM would then, of course, scoop up all the Bulldogs point spread action and would kill off all of that national championship action. Now, obviously, we on this side of the counter, we want bettors to do well. So generally, we want whatever the opposite is of what they would like to see behind the counter.
Man, that is fascinating. I think that Bama plus 600 might be a little tough to see happening at this point. Let's switch gears to the NFL, though. So 49ers Eagles basically opened as a pick'em. Now the 10-1 Eagles are 3-point dogs at home where they're 5-0. What are you hearing about this line movement?
Well, first off, I would say follow Evan H. Abrams of Action Network. He's got a bunch of really interesting stats about how this is shaping up.
He's a regular here on GDD.
I'll bet as you should be. So I was talking with Zachary Lucas at TwinSpire Sportsbook, one of the smaller independent operators, but they're a microcosm of what's going on, Maria. So they opened a little later at Philly 2.5, went to 3, as you noted. Early week splits are interesting. 62% of spread tickets on the Eagles, but 72% of spread money on the Niners. And what Zachary Lucas at TwinSpire said is it's pros versus Joes at the moment. The pros, the sharp bettors, are on San Francisco, laying the 2.5 to get this line up to -3, while the public, conversely of what's potentially going on with Washington here in the CFP, in the Big Pac-12 Conference Championship game, the public loves getting a 10-1 team getting 3 points at home. So a little pros versus Joes on this game. We'll see how it shapes up during the week. It's a fantastic matchup and a really interesting dichotomy of what's going on with the betting market here.
Definitely. And I could see why the public would want to pounce on that. It just seems like more fun, more value. And by the way, in case you're wondering, Eagles money line price is currently plus 130. Not terrible. Patrick, thanks so much for the info. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a great week.
Thank you. And I look forward to watching that game with the Action Network crew Sunday, December 3rd in Hoboken, New Jersey. You can come too. It's at the Shepherd and the Knucklehead from 4 to 9:30 p.m. We're doing a live broadcast of the Favorites podcast with Chad Millman and Simon Hunter. Go to eventbrite.com and search the Favorites pod or hit the link below to RSVP. To the NBA, a few surprisingly competitive teams to highlight as the Magic are third in the East on a 7-game win streak. The Thunder making noise in the West with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 30 a game. And the Pacers 6th in the East with Tyrese Halliburton leading the league at 12 assists per game. Time for more money with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Hello, guys. We're going to play Bet or Pass. So I'll give you a topic. You tell me whether you agree, aka bet, or pass. First up, the Orlando Magic will make the playoffs. Matt, bet or pass?
I'm going to pass. I think that, when we look at this team, I've been impressed with them. I love watching them. They are absolutely phenomenal in terms of being a young, exciting team. But let's try and keep in mind here, they are 23rd in overall offense schedule adjusted, and that's tough to win every night in the NBA when your offense is that poor. They've been without Wendell Carter Jr. and Markelle Fultz, but the problem is those two players actually haven't helped their offense much. They played really well in this stretch with Goga Batadze filling in, and Goga's been great, but some of the advanced metrics makes me think there's probably some regression due. I think the Magic will be in the playoff race to the end of the season, but I'm not willing to go ahead and bet that they'll make it.
Jay?
I think it's a good bet, in my opinion. This line was at -115 about a week ago. Obviously, with the Magic's 7-game win streak, it's only been moving up. But I think defense wins championships. I know in today's NBA you need offense, but if you're playing defense more than half the other teams in the NBA, I definitely think that gives you a chance. And I think they're well balanced right now as well, offensively and defensively. And we got to give Jamal Mosley some credit. I mean, he's probably one of the top candidates for Coach of the Year, or at least top 3, at least right now, if the Magic can keep this up. So I think it's very possible that they can make the playoffs this year.
Mosley doing a good job in his third year with Orlando. Okay, next up, the NBA in-season tournament has been a success. Bet or pass, Matt?
Bet. This thing's been awesome. This thing's been absolutely incredible. We've had great games throughout the tournament. You can look back and just look at the level of competition on a nightly basis. Yes, the teams have run it up when they've needed to, but that's also created tension. Who doesn't like some bad blood from teams running it up on each other? Meanwhile, yes, the courts were loud. The courts were very, very loud. But at least you were able to identify that these were tournament games. The NBA did a good job of making it a priority to make sure that these games felt different. They don't necessarily have to assault our eyeballs next year as much, but I think that the approach was really good. The ratings are up. Fan interest is up. There's something else to play for. We have the possibility, slight, but a possibility of a Lakers-Celtics Cup final next Saturday in Vegas. How much would the NBA love that? But you've also got teams like the Pelicans, the Kings, and the Pacers that don't get enough love. Having something where they can put themselves on the stage, it's an absolute win, absolute bet. This has been a huge success.
Jay, do you match Matt's enthusiasm on this?
Yeah, I do. So other than the courts, I mean, I just don't think they should have the loud colors. Like you can't have red courts and purple courts, but I mean, just like a light colored court is cool. But just the in-season tournament, the thought of it, I mean, it's turning regular season games that players didn't used to treat serious. Now it's putting heightened, you know what I'm saying, things going on with the games there. So I love the fact that the players are actually caring about these games and treating them like they're playoff games as well. So I definitely think it's a bet. I can't wait to see that. I hope it keeps going basically every year.
Higher stakes, and I couldn't agree with you guys more. With regard to the courts, just really quick, I feel like if it was just the trophy stuff in the middle, that would be totally fine and recognizable without like the crazy colors. I sat through the Heat Knicks game the other night with the orange. It was interesting, but still worth it. One last one for you. The Celtics will win the NBA in-season tournament. They are currently best record in the league. Bet or pass, Matt?
I think it's a bet. I'm going to have to go ahead and bet it game by game because I've got too many futures on every other person in this tournament. But I'm going to go ahead and be betting on them. They are the best team in the tournament by far. They're number one in my power ratings. They also got a really good draw here. I'm really sad. A lot of us at Action have a Tyrese Halliburton in-season tournament MVP ticket at a long number. Unfortunately, he faces the Celtics, and the Celtics absolutely destroyed them earlier this year, scoring 155 in their matchup. Then the Celtics are going to get the winner of Knicks versus Bucks on neutral court. I like Boston in either one of the situations with how Milwaukee's defense has looked, and then I've got them favored versus any team that comes out of the West. And I will say again, man, imagine if we wind up getting a Lakers-Celtics Cup final, how happy the NBA would be.
Jay, are you betting or passing Celtics to win the in-season tournament?
I'm gonna pass. I think I need to know what's up with Porzingis, a calf injury more. If they have Porzingis, I mean, listen, with Drew Holiday and Porzingis over there, this team is damn near unstoppable in my opinion. But without Porzingis, obviously he's their main defender, main rim protector as well. So without him, you're gonna be relying on Al Horford. They don't really have a strong backup center as well. So I think if Porzingis is in there, I definitely think it's possible they can win the tournament. I mean, this is one of the top teams in the NBA. I just worry about them focusing on the actual championship. This is a team that I expect to be there in the NBA finals. And so I just feel like the in-season tournament is for those teams that are not going to be in the finals. Teams like the Pacers, Pelicans, teams like that. So I think it's going to be someone that we expect at least to win, possibly like a team like the Pacers. So, Matt, I actually think that Halliburton might be still pretty live. Now, obviously, they have to get past the Celtics, but if I'll just say this, if they don't have Porzingis, I don't think that they're that unstoppable team that they've looked like.
Very interesting. Well, KP's calf injury will be reevaluated next week. Likely won't be playing in that first game when the knockout rounds begin December 4th. Celtics are the 3 seed. Bucks, by the way, the 1 seed in the East. Lakers, the 1 seed in the West. Let's move on to picks for tonight. J Money, what do you got?
I'm gonna go with the Clippers minus the 1.5 here. Now I know no one's gonna want to take the Clippers in this particular spot, especially after losing to the Nuggets without their top 3 guys, and they were at the house. They had everybody in there, but this is more of a bet against the Kings in this particular spot, in my opinion. Here, this is a letdown spot coming off a huge game versus the Warriors. They were down by 17 points. Obviously, it had heightened stakes as well because their game got them into the tournament there as well. So they won on a game-winning shot. They had to exert a lot of energy to come back in this particular game. I just feel like this is a game where the Clippers come out pissed and the Kings might come out a little fat and happy in this one. So it's a bounce back J spot for the Clippers in this game.
You are referring to, of course, the Clippers falling to the Nuggets Monday without the Nuggets' main stars. Matt, who do you like tonight?
I'll take the Nuggets minus 7.5. Speaking of the defending champs, Houston won the first 2 meetings this season in Houston, and like there wasn't any sort of altercation, but I know Dylan Brooks, and I know Dylan Brooks let him know about it. And this Rockets team is going to talk a little bit, and they should. They need to get their culture changed and play a little bit tougher. So they probably let the Nuggets know about it. Look at how this is kind of gone. Jamal Murray is most likely going to be back for this game. He's listed as questionable. Usually when the upgrade comes from questionable from out, there's a good indication that he's going to play in that next game. If he goes through warmups and isn't good to go, maybe he won't. But I expect him to be back, Jokic to be back, Aaron Gordon to be back. The Nuggets are 12-2 straight up, 8-5-1 since the bubble against the spread when Jokic and Murray are playing at home versus an opponent they lost to previously. If that sounds complicated, let me get it straight. The Nuggets don't let you get 2 against them in a row, especially not at home. They're going to be up for this game. The fact that Jamal Murray's coming back for this game tells me they've circled it a little bit. I like Nuggets minus 7.5 tonight in the comfy confines of Ball Arena.
Murray has missed the last 11 games with a hamstring injury. Hope he does come back tonight. That'll be fun. Guys, thank you so much. This was very fun.
Thank you.
From the pros to college, one of the marquee matchups tonight is number 10 Tennessee visiting number 17 UNC. The 4-2 Volunteers are scoring 73.7 points per game, allowing 61.5. The 5-1 Tar Heels, meanwhile, are scoring 85.3 points per game and allowing 69. As we bring in our college basketball expert, Michael Calabrese. Good to see you. What's the pick you like in this ACC-SEC challenge game?
I'm going to go with a player prop. Armando Bacot over 13 rebounds. It's plus 225, so you get some nice juice there. In 3 of his 6 games this year, he's gone for 13 or more rebounds. He's averaging 12 rips per game. And in the last 2.5 years, he's done great work at the Dean Dome, averaging over 12 rebounds per game at home. And Tennessee's a little bit weak on the offensive glass. It makes sense because in a lot of cases, they roll out lineups of 4 guards. And Jonas Idu is their only big that they consistently put out there. He was exposed against Purdue. He had just 1 rebound and fouled out of the game, trying to, basically check Edey on the low block. Edey finishes with a double-double. Then against Hunter Dickinson and Kansas, the Kansas big grabs 20 rebounds. So while Bacot is kind of up and down and there's variance in terms of his offensive usage, sometimes he gets touches on the low block, sometimes he doesn't. He's always involved as a rebounder. And because of that, I think 13 is a number that's going to fall here. Happy to take advantage of the plus 225.
Indeed. He is averaging 11.7 boards this season, as you alluded to. What else do you like on the slate tonight?
One of the best games across college basketball for really the last week has been the build up to this Colorado State game at Moby Arena in Fort Collins. I like over 148.5. 2 top 35 offenses, according to Torvik. And for those who haven't watched Nico Medved's Colorado State offense, it's a joy. They have influences from a lot of luminaries in the game. Dana Altman's, motion offense, John Beilein, the Princeton offense. You're going to see a lot of cutting. You're going to see a lot of times that they take both forwards, bring them outside the 3-point arc, and have them initiate offense, which is interesting because Isaiah Stevens, the Rams point guard, is elite, but they really ask everybody up and down the lineup to initiate in the half court. And because of that, 8% of Colorado State shots come off of cuts, according to Shot Quality. That's the 10th highest rate in the nation. So you're going to see a lot of open looks off of that kind of movement. And then, as I always like to say, when it comes to a total, it takes 2 to tango. Colorado is no slouch in terms of their offensive production, thanks to KJ Simpson's star turn at the point. He's up across the board in terms of every single metric: points, assists. His shooting is way up from the field, 3-point range, and from the line. He's averaging 18, 5, and 5. And speaking of the charity stripe, both of these teams shoot 77% or better from the foul line, which if there's, a back and forth game, seesaw battle in the final minutes, and one team's trying to catch up and there's fouls, you want to see those shots go down to go over a total that's hovering in the 150 range. And finally, they're both excellent passing teams. I really love that in terms of sharing the basketball. They're both top 10 in assists to made field goal percentage. So I'm going to go ahead with the over here between the Buffs and Rams.
Colorado at number 20, Colorado State, tipping off at 9 Eastern on CBS SN. Mike, thanks for putting that on our radar. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Maria.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, like the ones you just heard from Mike Calabrese, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for this edition of Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. Thanks so much for hanging with me. Have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.